Some of you might have heard a lot of the recent and pretty prevalent Nintendo Switch news, and I just been itching to talk about it. I typically don't make news videos unless it has something to do with maybe like the Steam Deck or something, but I'm just really interested in all this Nintendo Switch news that we're seeing, because it's kind of parroting a lot of the stuff that I've been asking for in some of my older Switch videos that I've talked about. So in case you haven't heard the news, I'll sort of just run you through what's been going on. The Nintendo Switch 2, but just a ton of information has come out from trusted sources like a manufacturer of Nintendo Switch accessories and stuff like that. And they've come out and said all sorts of stuff. Like the Joy-Cons and Pro Controllers will still be able to be used on the new Switch, continue to support HD Rumble and stuff like that. The Switch cartridge slot will support backwards compatibility with physical games, ensuring compatibility with all players' existing game libraries, including digital games. However, the new cartridges will sort of pull a 3DS by having a little notch in them, so they can't go into the old Switches, but they can keep going into the new Switches, because they'll be using technically the same cartridge. It just has a little thing poking at the side to prevent it from going into the old Switch, which is fine. We see this before on the 3DS. Another thing that they say that's very interesting and for me quite compelling, the new Joy-Con system will be, instead of using sliding rails, it would switch to some sort of magnet system. That would allow you to be able to attach the controllers to the side of the Nintendo Switch instead of going through the rails we've used so far, which is very cool in my opinion. Something that'd be interesting to see is how old Joy-Cons will be able to be in this system, especially considering that they're also saying the Joy-Cons will be on the whole larger than the old ones. So maybe some sort of thing we can slide the Joy-Con into that sort of adapts to this new sort of magnetic system. And I definitely would see like a accessory manufacturer knowing that kind of information, because they might make those kinds of accessories. And it super makes sense the Pro Controller will still work. The Pro Controller is amazing, and I highly expect Nintendo to keep selling the same exact Pro Controller when the Switch 2 comes out, assuming the actual like sort of design aesthetic that they're going for doesn't radically change. That causes them to have to completely redo the Pro Controller. So I expect them to keep selling the same exact Pro Controller, if not maybe a slightly refined version of that at the very least. So I'm not too surprised that is suspected to keep working. It will still support USB-C and have a new dock and undergo minor changes in appearance, and I quote, enhancing performance while supporting 4K resolutions. I don't honestly think the Switch 2 will be able to perform at 4K. I don't think Nintendo will implement some form of DLSS. It's just something super technical that I feel like Nintendo doesn't think is cool or pretty or beautiful. Nintendo is very, like, it has to be fun, it has to be interesting. I don't think DLSS would really fit their sort of whole vibe. Like, it doesn't, to me, feel like a very Nintendo move, because Nintendo might see that as something that could be used, but don't necessarily need to, because they've been able to optimize their games for the Switch fantastically. Like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, granted, came out the first years of the Switch, but still, that game runs at a full-fat 1080p 60 FPS when docked to the TV. Like, it is a beautiful game. They don't necessarily always need to have something like DLSS, and 4K is something that I personally don't really care about, because I mostly played my Switch in portable mode, but still, it doesn't to me feel like that's something Nintendo is really striving for. I don't think it is nearly as important as some people claim 4K is, because if I'm being honest, there are a lot of Xbox and PS5 games that don't support 4K either, or it's not real 4K to begin with, or it's just too much of a performance hindrance that it's worth anything at all. Even back in the day on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series X, to me it was more of a cool gimmick than anything else. What I want out of a new Switch is a higher level of performance. I don't care if it's fucking 720p, 1080p, or 4K. At least 1080p is ideally what I would want, but what I care about most is a stable frame rate. I would love it if every game that came out was at least 60 FPS. It would just be awesome for, overall just enjoyment of the games. I like a more fluid feel. And that could be my inner PC gamer, but like, that's why I love my Steam Deck so much, is that I'm able to play a ton of games at like 60 FPS without any problems. The screen will be upgraded to an 8-inch display supporting 1080p resolution, which is really nice. I think we can get away with having the 8-inch screen in the current Switch's body if they just eliminate the bezels. So if they want to maintain full compatibility with Joy-Cons, I would suspect them doing something like that, maintaining a similar size to the current Switch, just increasing the amount of screen space that you have on it, decreasing the amount of bezel, and just pushing that sucker all the way to the edge. And if it is 1080p, I'd be thrilled by that, because the display on at least my Switch, which is the original launch Switch, it isn't great. It is a 720p LCD panel. It's not aged as well as some of the other displays we've seen on these mobile handheld devices. We have a suspected time frame of when they might be announcing this, and it's probably going to be somewhere between like June, July time frame, usually right around where there's that old E3 time frame of things. That's typically when Nintendo would announce something like this, and that is currently what everybody's speculating on. It'd be probably announced this summer and won't come out until next March in 2025, which is mildly disappointing. I was kind of shooting for hoping it to come out in sometime in like September, October, but it coming out in March isn't a terrible thing. The reason why Nintendo, at least as the rumors say, speculate on why the Switch is being delayed is that Nintendo is trying to prevent things like scalpers and trying to have as much stock as they possibly can for when all the Switches and stuff come out, because when the Switch first came out, if you remember, it was a scalper's nightmare. Like, it was impossible to get any of these handhelds. It was constantly out of stock. You would be lucky to go into a Target and find a Switch on the shelf. It was borderline impossible for a lot of people, and they're trying to get ahead of that problem and have it so that scalpers aren't an issue and there'll be enough stock to go around, because I bet they're anticipating this to be a very big launch. Like I said before, though, Nintendo hasn't announced fuck all at this point, and I am so interested to see what they've been cooking up. The Nintendo Switch has been having a tough year. All the good titles or announcements that we've gotten have been delayed till 2025 for the new Switch, obviously, and all the games that we don't really have any other information on are going to be probably speculated coming out for that too, like Metroid Prime 4, which we haven't heard anything about since like 2019. But with these recent rumors, there's some very interesting ideas here. I'm very interested to see how Nintendo can pull off this magnetic controller system. We've seen similar kind of systems with devices like 1X players put out. They've messed with having magnetically attached controllers, and they look very cool on those devices. I'm very interested to see, though, how they manage to get that all to work. I can't be more excited for this device. There's so many things that I hope come true with these rumors. Like, I genuinely hope it has an 8-inch 1080p screen. Having that extra screen real estate would make playing games on the go a lot more comfortable. I love my Steam Deck because of that massive screen and just how ergonomic it is. If the Joy-Cons are going to be a little bit more ergonomic and have a slightly different design, thanks to being in a slightly larger form factor, that would be brilliant. And maybe this time Nintendo would actually do something with the Joy-Cons, release other types like their own GameCube variants, or something with like a mouse pad on it, or something like the Steam Deck. It's just anything, literally anything would be better than nothing that they've done so far, because we've had to rely on accessory manufacturers like Hori and Nixie to make all of these controllers that we all really wanted. Like, the closest we get is that the NES controllers that they released for the Switch for NSO that slide onto the Switch to charge, and it's just kind of dumb. So hopefully Nintendo does something cool with these new style Joy-Cons, but And some of the things with these rumors that I don't really care about is 4K. I don't think 4K is on Nintendo's mind for a long time, if I'm being honest. 4K has always been something that, like I mentioned before, is least important in my sort of requirements for a good gaming experience. And I get a lot of people have 4K TVs nowadays, but to me, that's not the most important factor. I just want these games to be running stable and have a consistent frame rate and don't look like a fucking N64 game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, what do you guys think? Are you interested in these rumors? Have this gotten you hyped? Or are any of these rumors something that you've always wanted for the Switch? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.